you again. Stefanie here. Really excited to share a recipe with you today for a yummy, healthy, delicious holiday treat. It's Gingerbread Energy Bites, and it's one of my favorites. It's got that traditional gingerbread flavor. But before we begin, where I'm going to demonstrate this video for you so you can make it yourself at home, I would love to hear where you're watching from. If you're doing holiday gifts this season, and if you're finished, if you still got a lot to go, personally, I'm almost finished my shopping, but I've got a few more things to buy and all the wrapping to do. And the reason I ask is because I'm going to be relying on this particular snack to power me through my gift wrapping session with a cup of hot tea. These Gingerbread Energy Bites are so delicious. So welcome, Mel. Welcome, Candy, Jared. So nice to see you guys here. Tom, welcome. Okay, if you're watching from YouTube, if you're watching from Instagram or Facebook, please remember you can always enter your questions in the comments and I will try to get to them at the end. And if I can't, we'll come back after in the replay and answer them for you. So keep those questions coming. I'm going to demonstrate this recipe, talk about some of the ingredients, and then I'll show you the finished product. So hang in there with us. And the recipe does feature the green pumpkin spice, which goes great in your holiday baking. But just to make sure that you know, they're still offering their holiday discount, but you have to order by today, Friday, December 15th, to take advantage of that. So make sure you check it out at onthegreen.com. It's really nice to have. You can drink this as a tea, but we're going to use it in a baking recipe. 2 weeks ago when I was here, someone asked me if you could add these to a baking recipe. And I'm really excited to share one with you today. So you can see our producer is showing you all the discounts available on the On the Green website right now. So check that out. Definitely want to take advantage of these major discounts. Only happens once a year that you can take advantage of these holiday deals. All right, guys, let's get baking here. Welcome, Betty. Welcome, Marilyn. So nice to see you guys. Great. Okay. I've got my setup all ready to go. I've measured out my ingredients, and you might be able to see I've got a second camera with me today. This is my counter cam. So in addition to me talking to you directly, you'll be able to see an overhead view of what I'm doing here. It might just help you learn the recipe even better. So before I began, I preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've lined a baking sheet, which you might be able to see on the stove here, with a sheet of parchment paper. That's nice because the products don't stick, the energy bites don't stick to the pan, but you don't have to grease anything, which is great. And if you use unbleached parchment paper, you can compost that later, so it's great for the environment. Or if you've got a silicone baking mat that you can reuse, wash, and reuse, that's another great option for that. So those are my preliminary steps. I've measured out the ingredients, and I'm really excited to share this one with you. It's so good. So you're going to get out a big mixing bowl and start by mixing the dry ingredients. We've got, actually, let me back up. Another preliminary step. We're going to take a tablespoon of ground flaxseed. I'm going to show you right here in my bowl. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water to it. And just with a fork, I'm going to whisk this together. Like this. And then I'm going to set it aside. And the reason that I do this is because it kind of takes the place of an egg. In plant-based baking, often we have to recreate some of the structural ingredients here. And without an egg to kind of bind all the ingredients together, hold them together, you need to replace that. And how we do that is with what we call this flax egg. It's ground flaxseed in water. And when it sits in the water, it congeals, and it also has kind of an adhesive property. It's going to hold the structure of these energy bites together. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go to the dry ingredients. I've got 1 cup of rolled oats. I've got a ½ cup of whole wheat flour. And you can do these gluten-free if you'd like to. You could use a gluten-free all-purpose baking mix instead. I've got a ½ cup of oat flour, which is also naturally gluten-free, but if you have a severe allergy, you want to check the ingredients and make sure it's certified gluten-free. I've got a ¼ cup of almond flour and a ¼ cup of vanilla plant-based protein powder. Now, if you're not a fan of protein powders, you don't have to use this. You could just add an additional 1/4 cup of almond flour, or if you'd like to, you could experiment with some ground hazelnuts or another nut flour, which would be a really nice addition to this flavor, the flavor profile of your Gingerbread Energy Bites. And those are all the dry ingredients, so I'm just gonna mix them together now in this big mixing bowl, which you can see overhead here. Just until they're thoroughly incorporated. And now I'm gonna add my spices to them. So we're gonna start with cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon here. I buy cinnamon in bulk because I use it so often, and then I keep it in a little glass ball jar like this. It's nice. And I'll just measure out 2 teaspoons. You can see on the overhead camera again. And if there's one thing that in my life that I collect, it's measuring cups and measuring spoons. And I really love these jewel tone rose gold measuring spoons I have. I find that if there's anything that you can do to make it more pleasant to be in your kitchen, you should do it, because there's no greater investment in your health than to spend time making your own food in the kitchen, in my opinion. And anything that you can do to make that fun and enjoyable, you should definitely do it. So I've also got a half teaspoon of ground ginger. It's going in there next. That's going to give it the gingerbread. I'm going to actually add a little more because I really love the ginger flavor. So you can be a little bit creative with this if you want to. But this is the characteristic flavor of the gingerbread. It gives it its name. And then I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of ground cloves. Correct? Just make sure. Yeah. So actually it was 1 teaspoon of ginger and a half a teaspoon of ground cloves. That's why it looked a little scant when I just put in a half teaspoon. So that makes sense. Okay. So 2 teaspoons cinnamon, 1 teaspoon ground ginger, and half a teaspoon of ground cloves. And now I'm going to pull out my amla green pumpkin spice, and I'm going to put 4 scoops of that into this mixture too. And again, the sale is going on till today, so it's your last chance to take advantage of the holiday deals. And this is going to add tons of antioxidants and flavor to this dish and really complement those gingerbread spices. Even though it's called pumpkin spice, it's because it's classically used in pumpkin pie, but you can use this on apple pie. You can use it, like I showed you in recent weeks, lots of different ways, and on pancakes and oatmeal. So we've done like a spiced apple cocktail, a mocktail. So definitely check out the Instagram page for Amla Green if you want more recipes, or if you'd like to join their email list. You can write the word email in the comments here, and they will add you to their email, and you'll always get the recipes, and you'll get this one in the email too. So we'll be able to send that to you. After I mix the spices in, I'm gonna make a little well in the center of the ingredients here. And this is where I'm gonna add the wet ingredients. Can you see? Great. All right, we're gonna move on to the wet ingredients now. We're gonna start with a cup of unsweetened applesauce. You'll notice that all of these ingredients are quite wholesome. It's gonna go in. We'll come back to that flax egg that we made at the beginning. You can see that it's thicker now. I'm gonna add that to the recipe as well. Just right on top of the applesauce here. And now I've got 2 tablespoons of almond butter, all natural almond butter. I'm gonna add that to the mixture. And when you're buying your almond butter, you really wanna make sure that it's 1 ingredient, just raw almonds ground up, no oils or binders added. That'll be the healthiest. I get mine at Trader Joe's. It's always a nice source of ingredients if you're lucky enough to live near one. Of course, the almond butter is a little sticky, so it takes me a moment to get it into the bowl. There you go. And then we're gonna add some molasses, just a tablespoon. And I'm gonna add that to our dish as well. You'll notice it's extremely viscous. It flows very slowly. That's where we get the expression slow as molasses, if you've heard that. So I'm gonna use my silicone spatula here to ease that into the bowl. It needs a little coaxing. All right, close enough. There we go. Just putting these bowls into the sink next to me here. And then I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. And if you wanted to skip the molasses, you could. It does contribute to the characteristic classic gingerbread flavor, but if you didn't want to buy a whole bottle of molasses, you could just add a 1/3 tablespoon of the maple syrup instead. I see people are asking for the recipe, so I'm really glad. I'm so excited. When you make these, please post a photo on social media and tag Amla Green, tag me at Green Sage Life. And I'd love to cheer you on, and I know the folks at Amla Green would too. And what else do we need here? Vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon. Beautiful. All right, so the next step here is to stir the wet ingredients together amongst themselves. I just find that it makes it a little bit easier to incorporate everything together. And then once they're pretty well stirred together, then I start to gradually incorporate the dry ingredients. You can see I'm just kind of spinning the bowl and folding the ingredients in together. And the texture that we're going for here is a thick cookie dough batter type consistency. And sometimes you'll find that your ingredients are a little drier or a little wetter than what you see here today. And that's pretty normal because it'll depend on the amount of liquid in your applesauce, for example, or the humidity in your climate. Here where I am in Las Vegas, it tends to be pretty dry. And I do find that I have to often add a little bit of extra moisture to my baking recipes. So we'll just very gradually, press these ingredients together. But you can see how simple this is. It really doesn't take long at all, especially when you measure out the ingredients in advance. It really streamlines the whole baking process and makes it even more enjoyable. I like to have a cup of tea. Often it's Amla green tea. Put in another shout out there. Put on some holiday music and get these together. So quick and easy. And it's really nice to have them on hand. I find that it's one of the best things you can do for your health is to bake yourself a healthy treat on the weekend if you have some extra time, because then when you get hungry between meals during the week, you have something on hand that's not going to sabotage your health, right? You can just grab that and eat it. Super delicious. Okay, so you can see now that we've got consistency that's thick, like a cookie dough, right? So that is all ready to go. I'm going to go grab my baking sheet and just set it in front of me here. Move away some of these tools to make room. There we go. And the tool that I use, where did I put it? To make the little Energy Bite shape, they're little mounds, is a melon baller. Yeah, I'm holding it here. Actually, I put it on the counter cam so you can see it. The scoop is about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit shy of a tablespoon. Sometimes this is called a cookie scoop, and it works really great for this purpose. So I've got my baking sheet in front of me here. You can see, I'll just show you now that we're looking here. It's nice and easy. It's got a little ejector. You squeeze the handle and it helps eject the dough. That's really great. So moving back now to the mixing bowl, I'm gonna grab a scoop of the batter, and I'm gonna try to make sure that it's flat so it's an even level scoop. And then I'm just gonna squeeze the handle of my melon baller, my cookie scoop, until the mound of the Energy Bite is formed. And I'm just gonna keep doing that. And it comes off really easily. And this recipe, as written, makes about 45 of these little Energy Bites. I would consider one serving to be about 4 of them. That gives you an idea. And this might take just a few minutes, but you don't have to spread them out too far apart because they really do not expand in the oven. But then I'll just do 1 or 2 more so you can see just what it looks like on the counter cam. And then I am laying it on the baking sheet. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see it a little bit better. This is what it looks like on the sheet. And I will continue to do this. And maybe if anyone has questions, I can answer them. I'll do another row. But I have actually baked another batch of these so I can show you what the finished product looks like. You won't have to sit around for the 28 to 30 minutes that they bake for. But that's it. Basically, you fill the sheet with 45 of these little energy bites, slide them in the oven at 350, bake them for 28 to 30 minutes, remove them, let them cool, and this is what they look like. I'll show you. When they're baked. They smell amazing, by the way, in the oven. And I can't resist. So good. So once I'm finished chewing here, please ask us your questions, if you have any. I see that Bess has shared the recipe with you in the comments, so that's great. These make the house smell amazing. Are they a soft cookie? Candy asks. Yes, they are soft. They taste more like the consistency of a firm muffin, I would say. So they're not crunchy at all. Barbara asks, what temperature? 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Line a baking sheet with parchment or a silicone baking mat. They go in for about 28 to 30 minutes. So friends, thank you so much for playing along with me here today. Whatever you're celebrating, hope that you have a wonderful holiday. If you happen to celebrate Hanukkah, this is the last night. We hope you enjoy it. Let's see we have a couple of more questions. So great. Colleen asks, do we have to use whole wheat flour? No, you don't. You could, if it's the whole wheat part you're worried about, you could use all-purpose flour. If it's the gluten you're worried about, you could switch to a gluten-free flour blend. You could use all oat flour if you'd like. Oat flour, if you haven't heard of it, is basically just ground rolled oats. So if you can't find it at your grocery store, you can just pulse some rolled oats in your blender until they form like a flour-like consistency. Betty says she's got an almond allergy. Have you tried substituting another nut butter and nut or garbanzo flour? So yes, you could do garbanzo flour, sure, in place of the almond flour. And for the almond butter, you could choose a different nut for sure. Peanut butter, sun butter. Actually, I would go with the sun butter because that's going to be a little more neutral. Peanut butter tends to have a strong flavor. It might overpower the gingerbread flavor in this particular treat. So yeah, go with sun butter for the replacement on the almond butter. Great questions, guys. Oh, by the way, if you're using garbanzo flour, you might need to add just a little more liquid because that tends to be a drier flour. So you might need a little more applesauce, or you could just add a splash of water until the dough reaches this like firm cookie dough consistency. Colleen also asked, what can we do to replace the protein powder? Yeah, so more almond flour, but if that's not your bag, then you could do the protein powder. You could just do more oat flour. I would do more oat flour. Can we use cassava flour, any other gluten-free flour? Absolutely. Replace that whole wheat flour with cassava, or a regular gluten-free all-purpose blend would be great. Diane says, looks yummy. Thank you. It is really yummy. It makes the house smell amazing. It's satisfying, it's healthy, and it really is wonderful to have a healthy recipe or a healthy snack on hand. It's just, especially this time of year, right? And something that can, you can grab between errands, you're making meals, you're doing your holiday shopping, like it's a hectic time of year. So great, friends. I'm so excited that you're excited to make this. I love this recipe. I've been thrilled to share it with you. If you want more of my whole food plant-based recipes, please connect with me on social media at Green Sage Life. And don't forget, get your Alma Green Pumpkin Spice on sale through today. and the whole lineup of flavors for the amla green. It's an excellent ingredient to have to add to all areas of your diet. So thank you so much for being here, friends. It's been wonderful to see you. Happy holidays. Enjoy this season with your loved ones, with your friends, and we'll see you again soon.